Right, so education right activists say Finance Minister Tito Mboweni's supplementary budget has left them worried about the outlook for the basic education sector now and in the long run. In a joint statement, Equal Education, the Equal Education Law Centre, Section 27 and the Public Service Accountability Monitor say instead of providing additional funding to the sector, Mboweni has opted to roll back key programs to fund COVID-19 costs. Equal Education Head of Research, Hopolang Selebalo, now joins us via Skype for a bit more on this. Hopolang, thanks very much for your time and welcome to Newsfeed, the AM edition. Perhaps as a start, let me ask, at a time when Mboweni has stressed the pressure placed on the public purse, for lack of a better term, many people will be asking why activists imagined that anybody would be getting additional money at a time like this.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me on. Education is a critical service that caters to millions of learners. And we know of the challenges that have been faced within the sector in relation to the provisioning of infrastructure. Now the need for safe and adequate infrastructure is playing out more now in the context of COVID-19. So the tabling of the supplementary budget on Wednesday was to reprioritize funding, allocate money to those programs or to the sectors that need a cash injection. And unfortunately, the education sector didn't get additional funding to cater to learners and teachers and ensure that the reopening of schools takes place in a safe manner and to make sure that learners' lives and teachers' lives aren't put at risk. When you ask why we would have issue with the fact that this sector wasn't provided with more money, in April, President Ramaphosa had spoken about an economic relief package, which we had certainly hoped additional funding from that relief package would be allocated to the sector. So it was quite difficult to understand and to take in the fact that money is in fact being moved away from key infrastructure, key education programs, and none is coming in.
Right. Many concerns had also been raised about the National School Nutrition Program, which had been affected already as we went into lockdown and some schools were closed. My understanding is that, of course, there's a great sense of added concern given the budget. Take us through what some of those worries are about, considering that it was a program that in many respects some people will say was under threat.
Sure. So during the lockdown, the National School Nutrition Program was suspended by the Department of Basic Education, and this matter is actually now in litigation between Equal Education, the state, and Section 27 and the Equal Education Law Centre. What we're advocating for is for the program to not just reopen for learners that are phased back into school, so the grade 7s and grade 12, but for all learners that usually benefit from this program. Because on the 1st of June, even though she had committed to reopening the program for everybody, the minister backtracked on this promise. And it now is an even more critical time for learners to receive meals, because we know the impacts that COVID-19 has had on livelihoods, on households, and we heard testimony from equalizers who are EE's high school going members and their parents about just the dire situation, the difficulties that they faced financially during this period. So to only provide meals to some learners during this time, after almost 2 months of not having had access to meals via the program, was something that was also very difficult for us to understand. Just to maybe relate this to the budget and what was said on Wednesday, so 50 million from the school nutrition program has been reprioritized to provide COVID-related materials, so gloves and equipment for volunteer food handlers to make sure that food is dispensed in a safe way. So the Department or National Treasury has said that the money that was not used in April and in May, which would have generally been used in any case, but if schools were open, would now be redirected to handle all the COVID-related materials, which is a pity. So the reason that it would have been beneficial to have a cash injection coming into the education sector is that money that was left over from 2 months of suspension could even be more beneficial now when we consider the strain that households are feeling, and the need that learners now need to have to obviously be provided with meals. And just to add that there were what we were even more concerned about was the 1.7 billion rand that was cut from infrastructure budget, and the 4.4 billion rand that was redirected to provide COVID-related material rather than building school infrastructure and fixing school infrastructure backlogs.
I guess in many respects, what this has raised, amongst many other things, is the issue, the chronic issue, might I add, around underspending, even in the basic education department. Because it's one thing to allocate the money, it's another to try and ascertain whether the money is spent accurately. But that's where we'll leave it, at least for now. It's an incredible conversation that I guess we'll continue having as more schools gear to open up. Hopolang Selebalo is, of course, the co-head of research at Equal Education.